So ever since I picked up Dead by Daylight again, I was always drawn to Deathslinger as a killer. I find Deathslinger really fun to play and to play against, honestly. To add to that, aside from Deathslinger being a fun killer to play in my opinion, he is also one of the better killers in the game, and is arguably the best ranged killer in the entire game. So I took the time and thought to myself that I did want to make a comprehensive guide on Deathslinger. We can start off with the basics now. Deathslinger is a 110 movement speed killer, meaning that he is slower than a majority of the bunch, but in turn for this trade-off he is also a ranged killer. So killers like Huntress and Trickster are both 110 movement speed as well, for example. So Deathslinger's power is called the Redeemer, which he fires a harpoon from his spear gun and he can reel survivors in towards him. If the survivor is healthy and the chain breaks, or you hit that survivor, they will go into a deeply wounded state. If the chain does break on an injured survivor, they will not go down, they will go into deeply wounded. While if a deeply wounded survivor gets the chain broken on them, then they will stay the exact same. Now, out of everything Deathslinger can do, anti-looping and chasing are the two best things that Deathslinger can do, hands down. He has the power to instantly end a loop and almost instantly end a chase, because if a survivor vaults over a window, you can still shoot them and hit them over that window. In terms of looping against a survivor, survivors will most likely drop a pallet pretty early in the chase against a Deathslinger if they are injured. So I would recommend breaking that pallet as soon as possible, unless the loop is really short and you know you can hit them. If a healthy survivor drops a pallet during the chase, then I would recommend shooting them, and that will get them to a deeply wounded state. Another strength Deathslinger has is he can zone one survivor out of the game if he really wants to. Now personally, I don't enjoy this playstyle, but if you really want to play like this, then go for it. Please know when to drop a chase though, so you don't get looped for 2 or 3 gens. There are a variety of perks that I would recommend running on Deathslinger. One of those perks being Pop Goes the Weasel, and the other one being Corrupt Intervention. Although they are 2 of the meta perks, they are undeniably powerful for killers that don't have much gen pressure. 2 other not really meta perks that I would recommend for Deathslinger are Save the Best for Last and Brutal Strength. Now I say Brutal Strength because even though it's not a bad perk to bring on any killer, I specifically recommend it on Deathslinger because he can break that pallet or breakable wall pretty damn quickly and allow him to continue the chase, or end it prematurely if they decide to stay at the pallet. Now, Save the Best for Last works in tokens, so anytime you don't hit the obsession, you gain 1 or 2 tokens. When you have a stack of 8 tokens with Save the Best for Last on, when you swing, you will recover much faster. But when you do hit the obsession, when you have Save the Best for Last on, it will take away some of your stacks. But there are alternative perks you can use if you do not have any of these, and I'm going to list them off. One of my personal favorite perks in the entire game, Gearhead. But I wouldn't see any point in bringing Gearhead if you have something like Barbecue and Chili or Discordance. Gearhead is by no means a bad perk, but compared to the others, it's a little underwhelming. So how Gearhead works is that once you hit a survivor twice, any generator that has had a good or great skill check completed on that will be highlighted in yellow for a set amount of time, which in turn will allow you to go over to the generator and pressure the survivors a little bit. Bitter Murmur is another solid aura reading perk you can bring. So Bitter Murmur will activate once a generator is completed, and you will be able to see the auras of those survivors within 16 meters, I believe. Sloppy Butcher is another solid perk all around, and when you injure a survivor, it will cause a hemorrhage effect, and it'll cause the survivor to bleed at a much higher frequency. Unrelenting overall is not a great perk, but if you really don't have anything else, then you can run it. So a tier 3 Unrelenting will make you recuperate faster from missed basic attacks by 30%. Now I'm going to talk about Deathslinger's serviceable add-ons, so bear with me. Iridescent Coin overall is honestly not a very good add-on, since you have to spear someone from 15 meters away and they will become exposed for that duration that you have them hooked to that spear. Now, although that does sound good in theory, you are more than likely going to be shooting at survivors no more than 9 meters away. Not to mention that 15 meters is 1 meter off of his max range with a spear gun, which is 16 meters. Although his spear does travel 40 meters per second, which is the same as a fully charged Huntress hatchet, it won't do you any justice, because survivors will have a solid amount of time to react to that spear coming their way. Hellshire Iron is also another niche add-on for Deathslinger. It's not bad whatsoever, but there are better add-ons to run. So as long as you have a survivor speared, you can see the auras of other survivors in your terror radius for up to 6 seconds. Now this is good in theory, but things do need to go your way for that to work out. For example, when you have a survivor speared, you can't exactly turn around and look. So they have to be in one specific direction for you to know that they're there. Also, survivors need to be in your 24-meter terror radius, which is a small terror radius, but it's still 24, so you can't see them from super far away. If you really want to, you can run the iridescent add-ons, but I would recommend running a prison chain and warden's keys, because warden's keys allow you to reload quite a bit faster, and prison chain adds more charges to your chain. Like every killer in Dead by Daylight, Deathslinger has his own unique mind games that he can conduct on survivors. Deathslinger has the ability to aim in and aim out pretty quickly without needing to fire a shot in less than half of a second. When you're in a chase with a survivor and you aim in, survivors will most likely go absolutely fucking bonkers and try their absolute damnedest to avoid that potential shot. Honestly, most of the time I will see survivors run into trees or rocks or basically into dead ends, and I can get a free hit off of them without needing to fire a shot. If you're clever enough, you can bait out dead hards while aiming in with Deathslinger's gun. Other than that, Deathslinger has pretty similar mind games to a lot of the other killers, just like Moonwalk. If you really want to psych a survivor out, you could also stay still in a loop and survivors will think you're moonwalking and they'll walk into your line of sight and then you can fire. This isn't something I'd recommend doing 100% of the time though, since it doesn't work a lot of the time, but it's something that's nice to get off if you manage to. I have yet to mention Deathslinger's unique teachable perks, but honestly, they're not worth bothering with. You're better off trying to get perks from other killers. The only perk I would bother with getting if you really want to is Gearhead, but even then there are much better alternatives, but that's your choice. So my closing thoughts on Deathslinger is pretty damn powerful killer, and I believe he's the most powerful range killer in the entire game, but that's up for debate. His spear's very precise hitbox allows him to make shots that no other killer in the game can. He's also one of the strongest loopers in the entire game, and I also believe Deathslinger is really fun. Like, he is really fun to play if you get the hang of him. So yeah, that's it. See ya.